I have come up with what I think is a clever way to turn a pullover into a cardigan without doing any extra math. And if you're watching this, that means I succeeded. Or at the very least, the attempt was entertaining enough that I decided to publish this video. You'll just have to watch and see. But first, this video is sponsored by Craftsy. Craftsy is your online resource for everything creative. With over 2,000 classes, from cake decorating to quilting, there's something for everyone. When I bought my first knitting machine and I knew nothing, I took Renee Callahan's class on sweater basics, and the step-by-step, straightforward instructions were incredibly helpful in making my first sweater. More recently, I was excited to see Susan Guagliumi's classes. Susan Guagliumi wrote the book, well, actually multiple books on machine knitting, and when she retired recently, she took down her website and a lot of her resources, but the classes live on Craftsy. I'm looking for a challenge. I'm going through her class on special techniques for machine knitting in color and texture. I'm pretty sure interlac is magic, but I'm excited to learn from an expert. And as you know, you can't have just one fiber hobby. So if you're looking to collect the full set, Craftsy has classes on hand knitting, crochet, sewing, and even spinning. Members get unlimited access to thousands of classes and projects. You can even connect with fellow makers to ask questions, share ideas, and stay inspired. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. This offer is valid for new members only. So go check it out and learn something new. Now back to the sweater. I'm working with my set in sleeve crew neck pattern and a bunch of loops and threads soft classic. There's a link to this in the shopping tool. And full disclosure, I am modifying the sleeve in this pattern. I looked at it again and decided I didn't like the way it worked on a bulky machine. I'm working with my 270, so I'm fixing it. And the fixed version will be up on my website by the time this video is out. So let's start by making the sweater. I'm feeling tiny sweaters lately because of this one, obviously, so I'm going to make a short sleeve cropped thing. Just goes a lot faster for demonstration purposes, and I'm going to start by making the pullover, and then we'll turn the pullover into a cardigan. But like, it's a different sweater. Like, we're not cutting up a pullover sweater. We are making a whole new sweater. It's just the same pattern turned into a cardigan. I promise buttonholes are coming, but for now I'm making this with a zipper. So I got some zippers, and I'll link to where I found these on the internet. And it's just gonna go like down the front, and it'll be like that. Okay, and these are fully separating zippers. So if you're doing this and you want to be able to like open this like a cardigan, you have to get separating zippers. Oh crap. Okay, these aren't the highest quality zippers. Come on, will you separate? There we go. Separating zipper. 2 fully separate pieces. Oh, come on. Okay, maybe I won't like these zippers because I'm not happy with the quality. But, zipper. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna make a sweater. I have knit all of the pieces. I have 2 sleeves. I have the front. I have the back. And now I need to join, oh, we got a long tail here because I had to switch skeins. I need to join the front and the back at one shoulder and knit the neckline. But to do that, hold on, is this right? Yeah, that's right. To do that, I have something new. This is a finishing needle, and it's like a big, long plastic loop. These are new to me, but I've enjoyed working with them so far. If you want a full review, let me know. Okay, all of the knitting is done. I decided to do a fold over neckline because I just like that better. So this is going to get folded down and then sewn down. And I made the bottom ribbing an inch longer than it normally would be because I kind of like that look better. But I'm going to take this inside to assemble it because it is hot out here. And inside has air conditioning, so. It is assembled and put together, and like, while this is a fairly standard pattern, I did modify the sleeves, and we have a swing and a miss. I had to gather way too much into the sleeve head, so I'll have to go back and fix that. But this is essentially the pattern we're going to be adapting into a cardigan. This is what it looks like when it's in pullover form, and I'm gonna fix the sleeves. Don't worry about that. Oh my god, they're so puffy. And this hasn't been blocked yet, and I know this yarn like shrinks up quite a bit, so it's gonna fit a little different after it's blocked. And I might change the armhole depth. This is a little deep. I'm a little paranoid about armhole depth after the issues that I had with the rainbow jumper. So I'm gonna block this before I make decisions about what changes I'm gonna make, if any, for the other cardigan. Okay. Oh my god, these shoulders. It's not right. Okay, my first pullover is out of the wash, and it's not right. So already looking at this, I can tell I did not get the gauge I was expecting to get, and I did the thing that I tell you not to do, and I didn't swatch with the yarn that I was actually using. I was using this swatch that's a couple years old, and while technically this is the same yarn, when I first purchased it, it was called Craftsmart Economy or something, and now it's Loops and Threads Soft Classic, and it's much drapier and softer and gave me a different gauge. So I'm going to use this as a learning opportunity, and also this as a giant gauge swatch, and get a real gauge from this for the cardigan. And also, the sleeves are really not right. Like, really not right. The way I drafted them when I was trying to fix them is the sleeve is actually as high as the armhole depth, but then I completely forgot that there's the sleeve head that needs to be gathered in and included in that length. I have fixed the pattern, what I think I've fixed the pattern, and this is the new shape of the sleeve, which is much better. So I'm gonna pull one of these sleeves out, put this sleeve in, and see how I like it. But first, let's talk about the cardigan part. Okay. This is not what I wanted it to be, but okay. So the plan is to make the back and the sleeves exactly the same as they would be on a straight pattern. And then when we get to the front, I'm going to just cut it in half. But instead of doing all of the math to figure out like how many stitches it needs to be and where the decreases are, I'm just going to follow the original pattern and cast on the machine, but only from 0 to the other half, and then follow the instructions from there all the way up and see how that goes. And for this, I want, like, if you were to have a button band on it, you would want to subtract that length from the half. But for this, I'm going to do like 1 inch of ribbing, like right next to the zipper, to see how that looks and attach it to the zipper. So I will show you how to subtract that when we get there. But first, I gotta try to see what's going on with these sleeves. Okay, my AC is going, so you might not be able to hear this, but this is the old sleeve that I just pulled off. And this is the new sleeve. As you can see, they are very different. This is shorter so that there's room to gather the head into the armhole opening. And it's not as wide because I think it's a little too wide. So we'll see how this goes. And I might like this better. But like, it's still the same width down at the bottom. It's just a narrower sleeve head. Okay, I have put the new sleeve in. It is this one. Let's try it on. I already like the way it looks better. See, this all gathered, and that's not gathered. Okay, much better. It's not perfect, but it's better. It lines up chunky on the top. It would be better if it was like up here where it actually was supposed to be, and it probably will look better once it's blocked. This is not blocked, this is a fresh sleeve. Okay. So I took the gauge of this, and the gauge that I got from my original gauge swatch was, I believe, 4.5 stitches per inch. This measures 3.25 stitches per inch, so it is way off. And then I believe it is fewer rows per inch than this. Things just work out weird sometimes. So I'm gonna plug my new gauge into the pattern, and I'm gonna use the new sleeve, and I'm gonna go through and make the sleeves and the back of the cardigan, and then I will show you how I'm modifying the front. We are back. It's a different day. I've been doing some knitting. So, I have the back panel of my cardigan and 2 sleeves for the cardigan. But also, I made a whole nother sweater because I realized I wasn't going to have a good thumbnail with this monstrosity with a bad gauge and bad sleeves. Well, one bad sleeve. This one is not good. So I made a whole new sweater at the correct gauge, and it's exactly the same as the cardigan. It just doesn't have the split front. So let me put this on. And this hasn't been blocked yet. And as you can see, it actually fits. Unlike the bad gauge sweater. This is what we're making. And this is what's going in the thumbnail. I'm sure you've already seen the thumbnail if you're watching this video. But it is time to try my clever trick for the front of the cardigan. And I hope it works because I have limited time to film this weekend. Okay, let's do this. Oh, but real quick, I wanted to talk about the collar. For the bag gauge sweater, I did a fold over collar where I knit like double the amount of rows I would need and then folded it over and sewed it down. But looking at this, it's a little too bulky. The yarn's a little too bulky to support this kind of collar. So for this one, I did a plain old, like just one layer and then bind off. And I think I'm going to do something similar for the cardigan. So now we knit the front of the cardigan. Okay, so I'm looking at the instructions in my pattern and it wants me to cast on 68 stitches for a normal sweater. So normally that would be 34 to 34. But because I'm knitting this as a cardigan, I'm going to put this half out of work. We don't need those. And then I know I have a bit of knit button band and my gauge is about 3.5 stitches per row. So I'm going to take, let's call it 4 stitches out of work, and we'll add some ribbing later to here, like this way. So this is half of my sweater. So let's cast on for ribbing. I'll be back. I'll be back when this is cast on. All right, I'm cast on, and now, well, I'm cast on the waist yarn, so let's put the real yarn in there. Just a knit. There we go. Circular knitting. And then my final tension. And I think the hardest part of this is going to be to make sure I trip the row counter every time because it's all the way off camera to the right. I'll take the carriage like almost all the way to the end of the bed to trip it, but we can make that work. And I need 17 rows of ribbing. I have my ribbing, and now all of the vertical instructions stay the same. So I need to knit 49 rows. The body of the sweater is done. It's time to bind off for the underarm shelf. Come on. And I'm conveniently on the side that I need to bind off on. If you're on the other side, you just knit one more row. And if this were a normal sweater, I'd go across to the other side and bind off on the other side, but we don't have another side, so I'm just going to knit a row actually first. Trap the flap with the crawl weight. Okay, and now I need to knit 4 rows, decreasing 1 stitch each side. Because we're only working with half of this, we're only going to decrease on the outside edge, so. Knit 1 row, decrease. Knit another row, decrease. And I keep forgetting to move my carriage over to trip the row counter. Okay, that's 4 decreases. The pattern tells me I should have 52 stitches. And the way to calculate that when you're working on only half of it is, if this were a full sweater, it's mirrored exactly. So I have 25, 26, 27 on this side. So 27 times 2 is 54. Yeah. So I need to do 1 more decrease because I need 52 stitches. Okay. 52. And now continue knitting to row 27. It's time to start shaping the neckline, and I only have half of it here. It wants me to bring 32 stitches into hold on the opposite side of the carriage. So I have 26 stitches. I would have 26 stitches on this side, and this is exactly symmetrical. So from here to 0 would be 26, and then 27, 28, 29, 30 for my needles for the button band. And then to get to 32, we just pull out 2 more. Knit 11 rows, decrease 1 stitch on the right every row to 13 stitches. Now what I just stop. No, I don't need to wrap because I'm decreasing. I'm gonna go out of work. Hitting my camera. I need to have 13. 1, 2, 3, 14. All right, that's the last decrease. I need to keep knitting until I get to 11 rows. Okay, that's 11 rows. Move the weights over. Shape the shoulder with short rows, wrap the last needle, 5 needles into hold. 2, 4, 5. Wrap, knit. 2, 4, 5. Wrap, knit. And then these go back into work. This gets bound off. I took off the 2 neckline stitches on waist yarn, and this is bound off now, so it goes off the machine. And here we go. I know it doesn't look like much, but let's take it off the cast on comb and take a look at it. Here's the shoulder and the neckline shaping. And then we go all the way down the body, and we have the underarm bind off, and then down to the bottom ribbing. All right, I'm going to do the same thing with the other side, only mirrored. Same technique. I have my front pieces. Where are you? Where are you? Okay. That's the left side. And this is the right side. And I've already added my bit of ribbing on the edge of this, and I will show you how I do this in just a second. This is possible. This is possible to just like eyeball it and remove half the needles and then just shape it the way you would if it were a whole sweater with a little bit of... It's easy. It's doable. I'm happy this worked. Okay. Let me show you how I did this ribbing button band thing. This is not an actual button band because it's just going to meet in the middle here at the zipper, but this is a way to do things. And it's not blocked yet, so it's a little wonky. Okay, let me show you. Okay, here's my button band thing that I already knit. It's just a strip of ribbing that goes along the center edge, and this is actually the cast on edge, and this is the other edge. So my sweater is 23 inches long, and I know that the front neckline dips down by 3 inches, so I know I need 20 inches of ribbing. And my gauge is about 3.5 stitches per inch, so 20 times 3.5 is 70. So I know I want my length of ribbing to be 70 stitches long, so that's 35 to 35. So I'm going to cast on this many stitches. I have knit an inch of ribbing that is 60 stitches long, and now I'm going to cover the ribber. And I transferred this all to the main bed because I'm going to join this on the machine instead of joining it by hand. And then here is my other front piece, and I'm going to take the center front and hang it along the stitches. And this is not a one-to-one mapping from picked up center front to ribbing, so we're going to eyeball it as we go. But I hang the two ends where they should be, and then I pick a point in the middle. It's about here. And then I pick up just the very edge stitch and hang it. And the right side should be facing the machine here. Hang it in the middle, hang it in the middle, hang it. And then just split the distance each time. And I'm going to do this until all of the stitches on the machine are attached to stitches on the front piece. Everything is back on the machine, and I could just bind off here, like pull these forward and bind off, making sure that the stitch gets pulled through all of the layers, but it's going to leave kind of a chunky seam and I want something a little smoother. So instead I'm going to knit one row and then bind off the knit row. But because this is a little chunky, we're going to put these all out into work so that the carriage only has to pull the needles back and doesn't have to worry about pushing them forward. And I'm going to push them in just a little bit. This is mostly to avoid taking my carriage out of hold so that I never forget. I'm gonna put some weights on this. And now we knit. There we go. Bind off. So we have our fronts with their button bandy stuff, and this red waist yarn at the top is just the extra 2 stitches that are going to get put on with the collar. And where's the back? There's the back. Come on. Just wanted to show what it's going to look like. Oh, and you can't see it because the stockinette's curling up. But that's what it's going to look like when it's done. Only with sleeves and seams stuff. Okay, so if this were a pullover, I would join one shoulder and then I'd do the neckline in ribbing. But because this is a cardigan, I'm going to join both shoulders because we have the front neckline open, and then I'll do the neckline on that using, I think, the same technique I did with the front stuff, where I knit the ribbing first and then seam it up after so that I don't have to do the sewn bind off on my ribbing. It's done. Well, all the knitting is done. I'm going to take this inside to go assemble it because it is getting hot out here. I guess the cold summer in the Bay Area is done. We're back up to 80 degrees. All right, I'm going to go assemble this and get some lunch. It's done. All of the seams are seamed and all of the ends are woven in. and it appears to fit, and it's nice and cute. And the last thing to do is the zipper, but I'm not going to put the zipper in yet. I'm going to block it first so that it winds up in its final stage, so I don't wind up putting the zipper in and then blocking it and having it be wonky. So I'm going to run this through the wash. My sweaters are out of the wash. Let me show you what they are at this point. Okay, here's the regular pullover. Oh, it's so soft. And my mom is painting me. This is what it looks like after it's been blocked. Plain old sweater. And then here's the cardigan. And now that this is in its final form, it's time to attach the zipper. And I could probably just run this through my sewing machine, but I'm going to hand sew it to have a little more control over where it's going to be. And then I can catch just the back of the ribbing and not have to worry about it like making a visible line through it. So let me pin this together and then attach it by hand. Here we go. It's done. So I pulled out my sewing machine thinking that I might be able to do the zipper faster, and I did one side of it and it got slightly out of alignment, and then I tried to do the other side of it and it got really out of alignment. So I picked the stitches out, tried it again, but it had stretched out because it was going through the sewing machine. So I just had to take a step back and pin it and do it by hand with like a back stitch. But it turned out pretty good. It could use a slightly longer zipper, and I will keep that in mind for the next cardigan that I make. But I'm happy with it. All right, I gotta go get ready to do some filming for the thumbnail, and then we'll come back and do last looks. So that's a wrap. And I did steam the top of this a little bit to get the collar to lay flat. Acrylic tends to respond pretty well to steaming, and we're good. So in this video, I made 3 sweaters. And what did we learn? First, you should listen to me when I say you need to swatch with the yarn that you're using in the color that you're using, because I got the gauge very wrong on the first sweater. You should listen to me. Of course, I don't listen to myself. Do as I say, not as I do. And also, like, don't try to do too many things at once. I was working on a new way to make cardigans and also modifying this pattern as I went. This should have been 2 separate steps, but it did work out in the end. And 2, there are some things that you can just wing. Like, I've never tried this before, the whole like mapping it out on a flatbed and then just cutting it in half thing, but it did work, and I'm glad it worked because I had minimal time to get this working. But now I have 2 sweaters, both the plain sweater and the cardigan, that I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of because they are nice and basic and straightforward, and they'll go with everything. And hopefully it cools off soon because it's getting pretty hot here. I will not be linking the zipper that I used. I'm unhappy with the quality. I'm gonna find other higher quality separating zippers that I'll link in the description if you're really curious and want to make this for yourself. I want to say thank you to channel members. If you would like to become a channel member and support this channel, click the join button down below. All channel members get early access to new videos, and channel members at the mid-tier and higher get access to members-only videos. These are behind-the-scenes things, creative process things, mostly like a lot of unboxing of yarn, even though I'm not supposed to be buying yarn right now. But the most recent members-only video was my debrief from Open Sauce, where I talk about making a sweater for William Osman and all of the things that went wrong. So go check that out if it's your thing. Thanks for watching. Happy knitting. Okay, it's way too hot in here. I gotta turn my air conditioner back on. I had to turn it off when I film because it's so loud.